Movies with my best friend. Welcome to Movies with My Best Friend Phil, a movie podcast that's gotten so strong, even milk can't stop us now. I'm your host, Phil Kessel, joined as always by my bestest friend, tied for bestest friend in the world, Will Chodas.
Hey, I got the tie. All right, so that means me and your wife, right? That's the tie?
Oh,
Three-way.
Three-way tie?
Well, I guess a tie can be... A tie is not limited to two, right? It could be like as many as...
I don't think so.
No,
I think
yeah,
you can
okay.
do a three-way tie.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's probably... The odds are against that ever happening. But I'm sure it happens.
Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm.
It happened in this case.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I think you did say of two, but it doesn't matter.
Well, whatever. She doesn't listen to this, so...
We're like a minute and we're already in the weeds.
That's all this is.
I
That's all
start this in
has
the
ever
weeds,
been.
Craig.
It's
My
just
whole
like-
life is in the weeds.
Yeah, let's just sit in the weeds.
Also joined... Wait, Will, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm
Perfect.
I'm doing well. Neither one of my kids are sleeping.
You just gave up eventually?
We have the whole thing like with Jack, like if you get at all, like if you match his energy level, he gets more energetic. So like at nighttime, if you're like, Jack, it is time to go to bed, he goes, woohoo, it's time to party. So you have to be like super like, Jack, buddy, it is time to go to sleep. It's time to go to sleep, Jack.
When
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because then he'll calm down. But God,
I think we told you about this, but when you and Caitlin, when Sean was being born, and Jack and I went over to watch
Jack.
He through the course of the evening, he was just getting like more energetic and more energetic.
Yeah.
And I think Caitlin's mom probably showed up at like, it was late.
It was
I
probably
want to say it
11
was
o'clock.
like,
It was probably the
yeah, it
latest
was like
he's
11.
ever been up.
yeah. I had not seen him like that the whole night. I don't think I'd ever seen him like that before.
Yeah.
He was like a rocket. And Caitlin's mom was just like, okay. And Jack and I just looked at her like, oh, we're so sorry. We did not do this on purpose.
Yeah. Well, that was like while Caitlin was starting to go into labor. She's like, "Are you getting Jack to bed?" I'm like, "Are you serious? Are you serious? He can stay up till 2:00 tonight. I don't care." Like, I'm not like he's up. We gotta go. We'll figure it. We'll figure him sleeping out tomorrow night. How's that sound? Yeah. Anyways. Aren't we joined by somebody else? Is there somebody else on this podcast?
Oh, yeah.
I'm
We
pretty sure it's just
actually
me and
are
you.
joined by the other person tied for bestest friend forever. Is that what I
Yeah.
said earlier?
In place of your wife, yes.
Yes. Yeah, of course. Because she's not in the apartment, so I can say whatever I want.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's how that works.
Craig Norland.
Hi.
That's you.
Oh, yes,
How's it
it is.
going?
It's good. How you been?
Hey, I am, I was going to say living the dream, but I'm trying to stop myself actively from saying that. Because everyone says it.
Oh, I
and
thought I was
like
saying
to be
because it's insulting to
original.
people who are living a nightmare. For the audience, I pointed to myself.
Yeah.
I suppose that too, but more because I just want to be cool. And
Yeah.
everyone's saying that, so the cool kids probably aren't saying that. And I feel like I'm one of the cool kids.
Well, as long as you
So-
follow up with this little, explanation every single time, I'm sure people will still think you're very cool.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, I guess, Craig, you asked me, you deflected immediately.
Yeah.
But I want to know how you are.
Good. I've just been going to a lot of farms.
I am
Like
seeing this on
cider
Facebook. You're going to
mills?
all these fun-looking places.
Yeah, we went
Very
to
fall-flavored.
Yeah, it was very fall flavored. I think Three Cedars or whatever the one was called, over in Salem.
Three Cedars past Billboard, Missouri.
Yes.
Is that it?
But oh my god, I went there without knowing anything about it, And I got there 10 minutes after they opened, and it was already like midday Spicer's level insanity.
Jeez.
It was nuts. There were so
Just-
many people there.
White
have
people
been
with
seeing-
kids. Man, oh man.
I mean, white people in fall.
Yeah.
It's a sickness, and I got it bad.
Yeah. I have been seeing a ton of things from people who are not like on the Detroit subreddit. I've seen Spicer's recommended. And I'm like I know it's really good. I love Spicer's. I always have. It's just crazy to see that on the Detroit subreddit because it's like a 2-hour drive. And everyone's like, oh, it's a long drive, but it's more than worth it. And I'm like, oh my God, I grew up like nearly walking distance to Spicer's. And I think we would go like maybe once a year at most. And I've been twice since I moved away from Heartland. But it's just really funny to see it. I feel like I see it popping up everywhere.
I think the first time I ever did any form of day drinking was at Spicer's because they have
Nice.
like they have a new, well, at the time it was new. They had a wine area, like a bar, right? Is that still there? Craig,
Yeah.
I'm looking for you for
Yeah,
confirmation.
they've got like a winery.
I never go in that area,
Yeah.
but yeah.
We before we had kids, Caitlin, we were like young, so like we went in there and we're like, oh, is this the
14,
bar?
15.
And it was like maybe 11 o'clock in the morning, and they're like, do you want some samples? And like Caitlin and I were like, can we do this? Is this allowed? Are we allowed to drink? It's 11 a.m. No one's here telling me I can't.
There's
Let's
no
have
rules?
some wine,
My
And then-
gosh.
And then like an hour later, I was like, oh, this is a bad idea. Day drinking's such a bad idea. It always seems like a good idea.
Oh man,
then-
it always does.
And you have two options. You either take a nap and have the come down occur while you're sleeping, or you just got to keep drinking until the sun goes down.
Yeah,
And
I've done
I've
done
both.
that.
I definitely recommend the second one, unfortunately.
Yeah, I once spent, and this was with Nathan. We once spent 24 hours drunk.
Wow.
It was great until so we went out to a bar with friends. I want to say we probably got there at like 8 or 9 maybe, and we started drinking then. And I think I had just moved back down state from up north, so like I hadn't hung out regularly with the gang there in like a while. So we were just having a blast, and then all of a sudden it was like 2 o'clock, and then somebody drove us back to my apartment, and we were just like, well, let's just keep drinking.
Yeah.
And
There's
we
no
both were just like, yeah, why wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Let's just keep drinking forever.
Yeah. All right.
And like,
this is who
it
I
was-
am now.
it got to like, we got to like 6 before I was like, oh, this might have been a bad idea, which is way farther than I expected to get before feeling like it was a really bad idea.
Yeah.
Like 6 the next morning, and then we kept going for another like however many hours, 10 hours, something like that. I canceled a date because I was too drunk. Because I was supposed to go on a date with someone. This was like a Friday night. I was supposed to go on a date Saturday night, and I had to cancel. And I fully explained what I was doing, which there was no date after that. So that's probably why that happened. And just the whole next day was an absolute mess. It was so much fun though.
All right. And for those of you joining in, we are having an episode of Phil Explains What a Hangover is for everyone involved. Because that's what happens when you drink.
Well, so I think at that point I was young enough where like the hangover wasn't really that bad.
Yeah.
I feel like now I've just gotten older. Hangovers are worse. That's it. Moral of that story.
I still don't really get all that hungover. I don't know. I think that, I don't know.
I do, but I always drink like, if I'm getting
You drink-
like at a wedding,
Yeah.
I drink like very sugary.
Yeah, I
like,
was about
mixers.
to say, like, the only time I've ever really been hungover is when I've done only mixers, and then the next day I'm like, I feel awful. And it's mostly because I just had like 10,000 calories worth of sugar.
Yeah. When I drink to get drunk, again, at a wedding, that is my prime drinking. It's also the last time I've been horrendously drunk and hungover. Uh, it is not just mixers, it is also whatever anyone suggests, I
Yeah.
will drink.
Yeah.
I'll do shot. I'm not a shots person really, but I will absolutely do shots if I've already been drinking.
Are there shots people? Are there people who are like, you know what I do? You know what my thing is? Shots.
I know people who that's their go-to move when we're moving into the night, people are already a little bit buzzed or whatever. It's like, let's do a round of shots because it's like a fun, dumb thing that everyone hates, but we all pretend we like because it's cool. Maybe.
I mean,
I don't know.
When I was 22. But yeah, anyways. So off of this subject, I think.
Yeah.
Back onto Craig, you're going to a lot of farms.
Yeah, that's where we were.
Are you looking to invest?
No, when the weather's okay, the last couple of days it hasn't been great, and the kids have been sick. Just stuff going around. I'm sure Jack has caught something at some point.
Actually, we've been pretty good. It's actually Caitlin and I have gotten stuff, but
oh, really?
Yeah.
But no, otherwise, I haven't made it out to Spicer's yet. But yeah, for some reason, I've just been trying to look around at local places, and when I say local, I mean I'm cheating on my hometown. Basically, is what it is. Because I'm like,
yeah, that's what hometowns are for, man.
I know.
You know.
Well, it's I have
I'm
no
not gonna
connection.
continue that metaphor at all.
No. No, I just there's a lot of stuff locally. I started following little guides, whatever, on Instagram, which talks about places to take your kids in Metro Detroit or even mid Michigan. So that's how a lot of these places, like playgrounds, I've found, and some of these cider mills I've been taking the kids to have been because of that. But just trying to expand my horizons. So I've been spending quite a few days in Northville randomly. That's where a lot of the cider mills and mill race.
Where a lot of the money is too.
I know, it's very, very rich over there.
There are some crazy houses in Northville.
Oh, they're nuts. It's disgusting.
I'm going to derail you again. I went into a guy's house. This was when I was working at Guitar Center. He, quote unquote, hired me to come set up his drums that he had and tune them. He didn't play drums. He didn't play any instruments. He had probably $2,500 worth of drum equipment, if not more. And then he had a bunch of guitars and amps. He also didn't play guitar. He had, and this was all in his basement that was bigger than the apartment I was living in at the time. He had 3 other levels. And so we went upstairs for him to pay me. And he was like, oh, how much is this? And I told him what it was. And he pulled out a roll of hundreds from his kitchen drawer. And I was like, I don't know what this guy does for a living, and I don't want to know.
Yeah.
Isn't there a racetrack downtown Northville?
Yes. I passed by this last time.
A horse
Northville
race.
Downs.
Yes,
Northville
that's
Downs.
it. Yeah.
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 So he probably, maybe he just won it.
Yeah.
The track.
It was just funny because I have a client that's in Northville, and I had gone to their place a bunch, and it was the 8th time I went down there. I drove past, and I was like, "Wait, that's a horse racetrack downtown in this? What is this place? Where am I?" It's just weird.
If you're ever down there, there's a sushi restaurant Jack and I went to down there that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name, but I'll find it.
I've only ever been to the CVS and the Sour Patch Kids there are fantastic, as they are anywhere.
Yeah.
It's a consistent product.
The downtown Main Street area is really nice. Every other store is a cafe, so I don't know how they all stay in business. But we were in
white people.
I know. We went inside Great Harvest, and that was bumping. There were so many people in there. Really good bread, as usual. But what was fun is they had, I'm sure you saw with the pictures, but a bunch of skeletons that people did. Each business was doing them. So there's some really fun ones. I didn't post all of them, but like the highlights were like the Spider-Man one that I didn't notice at first. I just saw a spider or like a skeleton all webbed up. I'm like, that would be funny if oh my God, he's up there. So, but yeah, it looks like they do a little festival on Main Street, and it was all blocked off, so there was no cars coming through.
Nice.
And they have Mill Race is like a very small greenfield village sort of place that we went to, and there's a huge like imagination station style playground right next to it. So it was fun having the kids look at that, but seriously, it was probably built by the same exact person because it looks just like it.
I don't know if I ever went to the Imagination Station. I
Really?
probably did. I'm sure I did.
I guess, yeah, I always forget that, like, you Heartland kids didn't ever, because why would you end up in downtown Brighton, you know?
We were there all the time.
Yeah, but you were a Brighton kid, kind of, right?
He lives further away than I did, I think.
I was halfway between Brighton and Heartland.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't know where things are.
I was going to say, Phil, I was way closer to Brighton than you were.
For some reason, I thought you were further. Well, I mean, it doesn't matter. I think I don't have a good map of the other side of M59.
I'm closer to Milford than most people are. That's the thing.
No, I'm seeing it in my head now. I'm Googling the Imagination Station. So I need to know if I've... Oh, yeah, I've been there.
I was going to say,
I was thinking. I'm an idiot.
Yeah,
so, Craig.
Yeah.
If you were to...
Okay, can we just say what's in your wallet and not drag this out for a couple minutes?
I was just going to say, if you were to open your wallet, would you see one of these fall-flavored places, or did you have something else that you had stuck in your wallet for later?
It took me a bit to come up with something, because I wanted it to be Halloween-ish, since this is our Halloween episode. Spoiler alert. Will, is that some fine miak that you have there?
It is some fine miak.
At this time of year?
Yeah, I found it. I right straight from the, I'm assuming like yak or other hooved type animal that it secreted out of. You know, I happened to find one right off of yeah.
Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Anyway, so my recommendation is a podcast, and it's one that I listen to. Like, I usually do this thing where I get really into a podcast and I listen to a bunch of episodes, and then I just get really sick of it, and then I stop listening for a long time.
For sure.
This one is called Lore.
Oh, I know Lore. Yeah.
By Aaron Mahnke.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been around for a long time. He does a bunch of other podcasts that he produces now. But just nice short episodes. They're about 20 minutes to 30 minutes. And they're all about urban legends and just kind of supernatural stories. And the one I just listened to was about Bobby Dunbar, which is the changeling story. Do you guys know what a changeling is?
Yeah.
No.
Is it? It's
is it
the
what it
Irish
sounds like?
baby, or like is it babies?
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
It's where a fairy steals a baby and then replaces it with like a fairy baby, and so it looks just like your baby, but it's not. And so the whole story with Bobby Dunbar was he was with his family, and they lost him at some point. I think he most likely, this is down in Florida, so he went into the water and got eaten by a gator. But his family was convinced that he was just lost because they couldn't find any remains of him anywhere. And so they put out all these flyers saying that he was lost, and he's like 4 years old. at this point. And then like 18 months later, a couple states over, somebody claims that they found him because he's with this guy randomly who claims that he's his uncle. And so they basically forcibly take this kid away from his family and say that it's Bobby Dunbar. And, Bobby Dunbar would have been 4 years old, so,
Yeah.
who knows what he was thinking. But basically nobody knew for sure. Some family members swore it was him. Others said there's no way, this is not the same kid. You got the wrong person. They finally did DNA evidence that it was not Bobby Dunbar.
Yeah.
They legit stole this
Ooh.
kid from his family because his actual parents couldn't afford lawyers, so they couldn't fight to get their son back.
Oh.
And so yeah, it's a really interesting
Whoops.
story. Yeah, very famous news story from the early 20th century. But those kind of stories whether it has to do with supernatural or not, or just
they're always very eerie. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like
talking about being buried alive was one of
Yes.
the earlier earliest episodes that I really liked. So great for this kind of season. Not necessarily all Halloween-esque, but it puts you in that right mood when it gets a little bit colder, leaves a little bit crunchier underneath your feet.
they did a
Ooh,
short-lived.
paint that word picture, Craig. Ooh.
Sorry, I cut part of that off.
That's all right.
They did a short-lived couple episodes of a TV series on Prime, I believe.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
watched it. And I remember thinking it was okay.
Yeah.
I can't remember what my biggest complaint was. I felt like they embellished too much. You know what I mean?
They couldn't. I don't think they had a lot of money, and so
Yeah.
the animation of it was kind of weird.
Yeah.
I think the bit that I watched, I came away from it thinking, oh, I could have this on in the background and just listen to the audio.
Yeah.
Which is
And
just
then
the
in my head, I'm
podcast.
like, oh, shit, it's already a podcast.
Right.
Like,
And it was he was just doing podcast episodes once he had already done. So I think I got like an episode or two in, and I was like, I've already heard these stories. Like, there's nothing new. Like, the visuals weren't very good, and so I'm like, this is nothing. Nothing's really different. So, or was it live action? I don't remember anymore.
I think it was live action.
It was
Yeah.
It had
I
partially.
think it was
It did
both.
some animated stuff, but yeah, it was mostly live action, and I think. But it was like reenactment stuff, and I think that's
Yeah.
what made me kind of go, because I liked how he's like coming at this as like a journalist sort of point of view.
Yeah.
So to have the reenactment, to me, at the time I didn't care for it. I don't know. I'd have to go back to it, but whatever.
So anyway, that's mine.
Cool. Hey, Philip.
Yeah.
So I have I've already forgotten what this thing is called. It's this thing that
God damn it, Will, just get to it.
You know how sometimes when you're like going out with your wife, or like maybe you're going to a wedding and your wife's wearing like a dress that doesn't have any pockets, and she's like, I don't have anything that like match. I don't have a handbag that matches. I'm not going to bring. So I want you to take my ID and my credit card and put it in your. What's that thing called that she's not going to bring one of, but she wants to put in yours, and then she's going to like
Clutch.
forget that it's there. Like
Purse.
4 days later, when she like goes to work, and then she like texts you that you need to bring the credit cards.
Oh,
or
no,
whatever.
I got it.
Oh,
Grocery bag.
Oh, that's right.
What's
Phil,
in my grocery bag?
What's in your grocery bag?
Yeah.
Okay, this is not funny at all.
Well, now it's doubly funny.
Not only am I annoyed, but our one or two listeners are annoyed.
You know what?
Doubtful.
You know
Yeah.
what? I don't do this for them. They should know
I
that.
know.
It looks like it did not go through, but Craig, I did just send you another. It may not have come through, so I'll probably have to send it again. But another podcast that is in a similar vein of lore, where it's like spooky stuff that I like.
Ooh,
It's
okay.
called Unexplained. That is not what I'm bringing to the table today. I'm going to open my grocery bag. I'm going to dump the contents on the table. You guys are going to look, and it is an assortment of random objects that spell out the word "the witch." Because because I watched a spooky movie this week. I watched 2 spooky movies. Technically 3, because I watched one for the pod. But I also watched a movie called The Witch, stylized with 2 V's instead of a W for
The Vivitch.
The Vivitch for some reason. And then I watched The Ritual. The Witch is on HBO and The Ritual is on Netflix. It's a double feature for me.
Okay, how much did you love The Witch?
What?
How much did you love The Witch?
I really liked it. It filled exactly what I was looking for in a spooky movie, which is like, one, it's the woods. I like spooky woods for sure. 2, it was like I like a good creature feature. And I don't mind a slasher, but I think when I want a horror movie, I want it to build until the last possible second, and then if it's a creature, I'm super into it. Or if it's like whatever it is, I'm super into it. But I want it to like build and build and build the tension until like the last 15 minutes of the movie, and then all hell breaks loose. And that was kind of what this movie, there were little like outlets of stress throughout, but for the most part, it kind of just kept on building. So the premise of The Witch, I'm not going to ruin anything, but it's just like a frontier family dealing with the disappearance of a child, and then they start to blame the eldest daughter, thinking she's a witch, and then there's a whole bunch of other things, and it's pretty...
This is during like Salem times, by the way.
Yeah. It's
and they're like even too religious for their own community.
Yeah, they like...
So they get kicked out.
They left like their church because they were too... Yeah, the family in it's just an interesting movie, and then also it is pretty unsettling throughout, and then the ending is great. I really liked the ending. They stuck it, I feel like. It was a cool ending. I don't know if I want to go into spoiler town.
Don't, because I'm curious. I want to watch it. You said it was on Netflix?
It's good. Yeah, this one's on HBO.
Oh, okay. Craig, I need your password.
Yeah. The peekaboo game is, for anyone who has a child, is extremely terrifying.
Ugh.
Oh, there's a part where they play the peekaboo game? Is that what you're saying?
The daughter's playing peekaboo with the baby.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
It's a whole, yeah. So that movie was really good. I would give that a pretty good rating on the scale of 1 to good. I also watched a movie called The Ritual, and I had seen that one before, but I kind of wanted to just watch it again because I really, really liked it the first time.
Wait, did you say The Covenant?
Yeah. It's The Covenant. Have you guys seen that?
Oh, yeah, that was great.
Yeah,
my favorite part
fantastic.
is when there were no shirts. That's the part I like.
So the whole thing.
Yeah.
Inexplicably shirtless, the whole movie. No, it's called The Ritual. It's on Netflix. It is 4 friends go on like a hiking trip to honor one of their friends that dies right at the beginning of the movie. Spoiler alert. It's like the first 5 minutes of the movie, so it's not really a spoiler. And so they go on this hiking trip. One of them gets injured partway through. They still have like half the journey, so they still have like a day and a half to get back. But they decide to take a shortcut through the woods because it cuts off a bunch of time, and then a bunch of shenanigans happens in the woods. And it's similar to The Witch in terms of like it's kind of just building on the unsettlingness. There's a little bit of like Blair Witch in there. I really, really like it. It's a really good movie. I've seen it twice now. It's just as unsettling the second time, and I knew everything that was going to happen. And then the ending, I feel like they stick so hard. It's so cool.
Yeah, I'm going to check that one out.
Definitely watch it. I would like to talk to you about it when you've watched it. This is good.
But seriously, I mentioned it to you by text, but The Willows by Algernon Blackwood, it's basically just these 2 guys going down a river in the wilderness, in the woods, and they are being stalked by some otherworldly presence, and it's just the whole thing is just dread, and they're seeing things, and it's like this guy was before what's his face? The
Danny Glover.
Cthulhu.
H.P. Lovecraft.
H.P. Lovecraft. Yep. So
close.
he kind of inspired him. So he's from like the late 1800s, early 20th century. But
Wait, this is not a movie?
No, it's a book. It's very short.
God, no.
It's very short.
I was wondering why you seemed so interested, Phil. I was like, oh, this is weird.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought it was a movie. I was really excited, but it's a book, so I'm like, wow.
No, it's a book. I'm sorry.
No, I just have, I have this, I have so many books. That's I can't move my camera as much as I...
You just do Audible like I do.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this isn't even like, we purged so many books when we came out here. Just threw them right in the fire. No, I'm kidding. We gave them away.
To the
We sold
fire.
them at a garage sale. To the fire. We sold them to the fire. We didn't start the fire. Anyways, Will.
Where?
I have one super important thing to ask you.
Oh, God.
What's in your wallet?
Oh, right. Because this is the part where we open up our wallet and we show each other. Yeah, so I'm going to recommend some music. I'm not sure who this recommendation is for, if I'm being completely honest. It's mostly just something that I like and I want to share, but I don't know if anyone else is going to like it. So it's an album called Human Overboard by James and the Shame. So I'm going to play one of the I think the most popular one. It's called Believe Me. Fair warning, it's country. So, yeah. I know everyone's least favorite because of racism. All right, so play a little bit and then we can talk about it, I guess. Okay, so this is Rhett McLaughlin. Darn it, McLaughlin. I think Rhett McLaughlin of the Rhett and Link duo from Good Mythical Morning. So part of the reason why I like this is, I realize I've been flirting with liking country my entire life. Because slide guitar, love that. You know what I mean? Like. Folk music, love folk music, banjo, fiddle, those things are amazing, but for the most part, country music. And all right, so here's the chorus, I don't think it's I'm not asking you to agree, I'm just asking you to believe. So all right, so I'm just gonna fade this out then. So the whole premise of this album is James and the Shame is his solo artist, and James is his middle name, and the Shame is essentially like his guilt over not being a Christian anymore, basically, because they grew up in the South, and a lot of their family is still very Christian and all that stuff, and so like that song is. I'm not asking you to agree. I'm asking you to believe me, like when he says he doesn't think it's true anymore, And so there's other songs that are about like him, like sort of apologizing to his sons because he's saying like, hey, I have a lot of religious baggage that I definitely gave to you. Sorry about that. And there's a couple of songs like, trying to have conversations with his mom about this kind of stuff. So And that made me realize, like, oh, what I don't like about country is the panderingness that so many country songs sort of fall into. I'm gonna pause here because Craig just ran away.
Yeah.
He really hated that song. I mean, I would be insulted if I cared.
Movies with my best friend.
So I'm sure we're off the topic now, but going off yours. One, that's not country because they weren't talking about pickup trucks.
Well, okay.
So
He literally just made that joke while you
no!
So in that little break while you were helping Jonas out, we I mentioned that, like, I realized, like, it actually makes perfect sense that I would like country because, like, pentatonic scale, love the pentatonic scale, love blues. This is all blues. What I don't like is the subject matter, right? Which is always like, me and my dog in my truck. That's all you need to be an American. Also, I don't like Jews, maybe. I don't know.
Yikes.
That's what they're starting with these days. Anyways, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's and
they're
I like
called Zionist.
Yeah.
That's the new buzzword.
That's not a new buzzword.
I know.
So yeah.
Anywho, but yeah, no, I mean, so I think one of the reasons why I also connect with it is because, I'm a big fan of Rhett and Link and their Mythical Morning, their show. And so I have a parasocial relationship with him. So, like, I've heard him talk about himself a lot. So, like, when I'm hearing the lyrics and you know what I mean? Like, to me, like, it was like, oh yeah, like, it kind of feels like, oh, a buddy of mine wrote an album, and I can also relate to the subject matter of, like, feeling guilt over leaving or not, or, being non-religious, being quote unquote atheist, and feeling bad when I still talk to family members who are, et cetera, et cetera. And like, and I still have, I have, weird hangups from my time being religious. And I'm definitely going to be giving some of those to Jack and little baby Sean. And I feel bad about that, but I don't know what to do about that, So
yeah,
that kind of stuff.
This is a couple years ago. It was, we were going to a church in Milan at the time, and I walked in and they had Rhett and Link on, like, for the kids.
Really?
Yeah, and I was like...
Well, they're very family friendly.
Well, here's the thing. They started out doing...
Yes.
Based their show, but a Christian version of it.
Yes. It, like, once I figured that out, I'm like, oh my God, they have such youth pastor energy.
Oh, for sure.
Of course. Like, duh.
Yeah. I'm like, this all makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah.
And so I went home and I did some research. I'm like, oh, okay. I can see what happened. And, I've watched their show here and there. I haven't always... I'm not a hardcore fan or anything, but I've liked what I've seen.
I'm not a hardcore fan in the sense that, like, I don't, like, pay any money to be a part of their mythical society, but, like, to me, it is the show that we put on when we eat food because it is just so simple and mindless. Like, be like, hey, let's watch two guys who we think are moderately funny eat every Pop-Tart they can.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and
what a dream job!
And after 12 minutes of that, it's over, and we go and do something else, And so
I that over here for free.
Yeah, right. And it's just, I don't know. It just became one of those things where it's like, well, let's just put on another Rhett and Link episode, and then next thing I know, I'm like, oh, I guess I'm like a big fan of. So much so that they did a Good Mythical Evening where they were finally able to, like, do, like, they were allowed to drink because they have a thing with YouTube. They were like YouTube acts like a network for them, so they have to, like, because they bring in so much revenue for YouTube that they have to keep up the image of not drinking, no swears, really, et cetera, et cetera. But so they did a Good Mythical Evening where they could, like, swear and drink and stuff, and I was this close to paying for it, and I was like, I probably would regret that. I don't know. Yeah, so anyways, but yeah, no, I recommend this album if you're like, you know what I need to get into? Country, and I need it to be done by an internet person I've never heard of. I don't know.
No, I'm gonna check it out. It sounds
Yeah.
it's not usually my jam.
Yeah.
But I got nothing against it, and the concept of the album sounds really cool.
Yeah.
Super interesting.
Yeah.
So I'll give it a whirl.
Yeah. It's definitely it's definitely a what's the word? It's a debut album. So some of the songs
Danny Glover.
Oh, what?
What?
It's a debut album, so I actually I don't know. Never mind. I was just about to bash it to make sure that when you hated it, I at least had some defenses put up. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that.
Good. Don't do that.
All right. Yep.
Speaking of trolls, Ernest Scared Stupid.
That's right. We watched a movie. Ernest Scared Stupid is a 1991 American comedy horror film directed by John Cherry and starring Jim Varney. It is the 5th film to feature the character Ernest P. Worrell. That is, so it's after Dr. Otto and the Riddle of the Gloom Beam, Ernest Goes to Camp, Ernest Saves Christmas, and Ernest Goes to Jail. It is 91 minutes long. It had a $9.6 million budget. It made $14.1 million at the box office. How do you guys think this did on Rotten Tomatoes?
Oh, I gotta imagine this is this is being nice. This is like a 21%.
Okay, I'm gonna Price is Right, Craig. I'm gonna go 20.
Well, then Phil has it because it's 17%. Fans liked it a little bit more with a 50%. Still not great. All right, so
that's still every other person though.
Yeah,
but trust me, this movie has fans. If you go on Letterboxd, most of the reviews are people who just have so much nostalgia for this movie.
All right, so domestic box office for 1991. So we also in 10th place, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 2, Secret of the Ooze, The Naked Gun 2.5, Smell the Fear, Addams Family, Sleeping with the Enemy, Dances with Wolves, City Slickers, The Silence of the Lambs, Home Alone, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, Terminator 2, and then number 1 is Terminator 2, Judgment Day. This list probably sounds very familiar because Shakes the Clown also came out in 1991. So I've read this recently. So did Hook, which only got 14. It was the 14th slot. Oh, and The Rocketeer got 24th.
Yes. Yeah, I know.
But it beat out Thelma and Louise and Point Break.
What?
That's surprising.
Yeah.
Point Break's good though.
And The Godfather Part 3?
Yeah.
Most people
I mean,
don't
but
like
I feel
that
like
one.
people went to go see that movie expecting it to be good.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
T2 was such an extreme hit, though.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so who picked this movie? I guess I picked this
You
movie.
picked this
did.
movie, Will.
I picked this movie. Why did
You
I?
just
suggested
held you
this
to
movie
it.
as a joke,
Oh, yeah.
and then Craig and I, being Craig and I, said yes, absolutely.
All right, so then let's change it to. I kind of already know Craig's. Phil, what is your history with Ernest P. Worrell?
Okay, I'm pretty sure I've seen the 4 that are named Ernest something something.
There are more
I
after,
don't know
after
about-
this movie, aren't there?
This is the last one, but I'm pretty sure I watched the other ones, except for Dr. Otto and the Riddle of the Gloom Beam. Which, to me, what I'm guessing happened is they made that and it wasn't horrible, and they were like, oh, breakout character, let's make 4 more movies with him, and they were all not very good. But I don't remember Ernest Saves Christmas, I don't remember Ernest Goes to Camp, I definitely don't remember Ernest Goes to Jail, but I feel like that movie has to be bad. I don't think I've seen this movie since I was like 6 or 7. And I do remember liking the movie a lot back then.
So there are 4 Ernest movies after this one. There's Ernest Rides Again, Slam
I thought
Dunk
this was the
Ernest,
last one.
Ernest Goes to Africa, and then Ernest in the Army.
Oh, this is the last one that Disney released. When I was on the Wikipedia,
This is the last one that was released in theaters.
Yeah.
No, Rides Again was also in theaters.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. This is just the last one that Disney. The rest of them are all independently produced.
Wow.
We're getting way too into Ernest stuff here.
No, I mean, we got to go through the history. It's important. This is a cultural touchstone.
So for me, if I saw Goes to Camp and Goes to Jail, it was when I was young and I don't remember it. Most of them that I've seen, the most times I've seen is this and Saves Christmas, because they're just holiday movies and you kind of always know when you're supposed to watch those. I did see Slam Dunk Ernest, and I remember that being awful. Surprise, surprise. But yeah, this one is. I've probably seen this about 30 times at least.
Oh my God! Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is in Slam Dunk Ernest, and he plays an angel.
Hey, Patrick Ewing played an angel in Exorcist 3.
Yeah.
Interesting.
This is funnier.
Yeah, I know.
Wow. Yeah, that does sound terrible. Craig, what were you saying when I interrupted you?
Usual.
You said you had seen this movie like 300 times.
Yeah, I saw this. I'm sure I'm exaggerating. It was 30. It was probably closer to like 15. But Will, you haven't seen any Ernest movie?
I don't know, because I definitely remember Ernest. I like when he was doing all his faces, and even when he did the weird like multiple personality characters, I was like, oh, I've seen all of this before, but I have no idea which one I saw. I do remember. I think there was like maybe one or two that we could rent at the video store. And I remember like not being able to find, knowing that there were more and not being able to find any more. I don't think I saw this one because I definitely would have remembered the snot monsters, which unfortunately I may never be able to forget. But yeah, and then I also remember finding out that Jim Varney had died and being saddened by that. You know,
I mean, when you were a kid, and I guess you would have been pretty little when Toy Story came out.
Yeah.
But was it one of those things where you knew off the bat that was Ernest?
No, I didn't.
Slinky?
I didn't find that out until like last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was like, oh, Jim Varney. Why do I know that name?
Ernest. I honestly don't know
shit.
if I connected it until this very moment.
Yeah, Slinky the
like
dog.
I can hear the voice and I can hear it in my brain as Jim Varney, but I didn't like. I think I just never put two and two together because I think this is the only Ernest movie I really remember, and I don't. Like exactly like you said, Wells. Like I remembered all of those faces and all the like, all of his like hamming it up stuff.
Yeah.
But of this movie, the thing that I remembered most is the milk squirt guns, which I thought were a much larger part of the movie. And I realized they were like they were what saved the day. Spoiler alert. But like I thought it was like 60% of the movie was them making plans, like Home Alone style.
Yeah.
In the treehouse. That's what I remember.
Yeah.
That's not at all what happened.
Well, it's like the first time I saw The Lion King, and as an adult, I was like, oh, all right, Timon and Pumbaa, and the movie's over. I was like, what the hell? Like, this movie happened so fast. I remember these things being so huge and like taking forever. But like, yeah, that's just like when you're a kid, it's like, oh yeah, that's why all kids' movies are 80 minutes because you can only keep them. Yeah. Anyways. But yeah. Milk squirt guns. Disgusting.
Milk squirt guns. Squirty milk guns. So I guess.
Well, let me do a quick rundown of the plot.
I was hoping Craig would do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so in this movie, do we get where they live? I don't remember. I don't remember.
Yes, it was something like Missouri.
Okay,
I'm on the Wikipedia page. I didn't remember that.
Ernest lives in the small town, and he's exclusively friends with small children.
Yes.
So no
he's
red
also
flags
the garbage
there.
man.
He's also the garbage man, who can't do anything right. first thing we see is a flashback of his ancestor. They have caught this troll that has been terrorizing their children, turning them into wood dolls, and they bury the troll, and they put a tree on top of him. And so Ernest's ancestor basically says, if anyone disturbs this tree, they're going to set the troll free.
We got to do this way faster.
Yeah. Well, that's the... I gotta set.
That's the only part of substance. Everything else is going to go by like that.
I know.
And then the rest of the movie is him accidentally setting the troll free,
yes. and then
the troll catching. Yeah, trying to stop the troll. So yeah, that's the main gist of it.
Yes, and so yeah, basically the whole thing is like Ernest being like, "Hey, there's a bunch of trolls over there. I caught one in my car." And the cops being like, "No, he didn't." And then the little boy going like, "It's true, Dad. I saw it." And then we go over and it's not that. And they're like, "Oh, no." And then he's like, I'm going to go hang out with more children. Bye. That's what Ernest sounds like, apparently.
Yeah, 100%. I thought we were watching the movie again for a second.
Yeah. And then in the backdrop of all of this is a double-nosed, snot-covered troll monster running around and turning children into wooden dolls, I guess.
Were they not chocolate?
No.
Okay. They kind of looked like chocolate, though,
by the
right?
way, Eartha Kitt is in this movie, which blew me away when she showed up.
Yeah.
She like came out and I'm like, holy shit, is that Eartha Kitt?
Yeah,
I was like,
she crushes it.
How did you not know that? No. I was like, oh, man.
Yeah, that's me. That's basically me.
And yeah, and she crushes it as her like she also like walked in from a completely different movie. She's dressed like she was like on the set of The Dark Crystal moments before, you know? Like she's like way too crazy looking.
Yeah. She's also acting circles around everyone, which like that's to be expected, but it is just like it's almost worse for it.
So she plays a character who is somebody who was around when the curse was created, I guess, and knows.
Yeah.
And she's sort of the knowing sage type, but also crazy lady. She's like the Yoda, crazy old wizard type character. Why did I bring her up? Shoot.
Because
we needed to talk about something positive.
No, it wasn't that. I can't remember now.
Were we going off of like that's the next thing that happens?
No,
she's like, Ernest, don't with this tree.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember. It'll come back to me.
The tree.
So as the person I know who likes this movie the most out of the three of us, can I just say a couple of things that I like about this movie before you guys start throwing the shit?
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so the opening sequence to this movie is one of my favorites of any movie.
It's wild.
It's good, though. Craig, you're like, this is going to be great. And I'm like, okay, Craig. And then, oh, by the way, I got to set the stage. So, like, I went over to Craig's house to watch the movie, and like an hour before, I get a call from Craig. He's like, Will, I'm at the grocery store. Do you like caramel apples? Because I'm buying us caramel apples and pumpkin beer to make this go down. So I was watching the sequence, drinking pumpkin beer and eating a caramel apple, which I highly suggest. Yes. And it worked because I thought that opening sequence was pretty fun.
Yeah, and then it wore off really quickly.
Oh, immediate. No, that's actually not true. But I'll get into that.
But yeah, the opening sequence is just Ernest reacting to mostly old clips from like The Brain That Wouldn't Die and all these old 30s movies, old horror movies. And I just remember that freaked the hell out of me as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was legit scared of some of the sequences, like the giant brain running towards the girl. That part always got me. And of course now you're like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. This isn't scary at all. But to a kid, you're like,
yeah.
Oh, for sure,
and the music and everything. And so opening sequence is great. I said this at some point that Jim Varney is basically just doing what Robin Williams does, but just very poorly, which is ad-libbing everything, just saying whatever comes to his mind.
So you know what? I can I jump in here because this is my most positive takeaway is that Jim Varney kills it as this character. Like if you had a Mount Rushmore of rubber-faced, like over-the-top weirdos, it would be like Robin Williams, Jim Carrey, and then Jim Varney, and then a fourth person I can't think of, because like he does great. Like when he's playing those three different characters, I was impressed with him. I mean, the dialogue is terrible, and like the movie is a kid's movie. You know what I mean? So like he's not working with great, but like I feel like the mistake would be to put this performance in like the same category as like Larry the Cable Guy and like Get Her Done. Do you know what I mean? Like he's not, it's, you know what I mean? Like I feel like you're like, oh, Ernest movies, it's just like hacky nothing, you know? But like I got the impression that like this is a guy acting his heart out. He's doing a good job at what he's doing. What he's doing just happens to be a hacky kids movie. But I don't know. I was like when he did all those three characters, 4 or 5 characters or whatever it was. The only line I laughed with is like with one he played the one character who said like there isn't any trees in Botswana and I would know I'm a Botswanan lumberjack and I ain't never had a job. Like that that made me laugh out loud. I was like that's a funny line. But other than that, the rest of the movie, I actually at one point was keeping score of the number of times I laughed out loud and Craig laughed out loud. But then I stopped. I think I wrote down 2 for me and I have like 11 for Craig. And that was about halfway through the movie. But then we were just making each other laugh and it was and then it was too hard to keep track at that point.
When he shoves the baby doll into the gears, that I'm sorry, that's one of my favorite moments.
That part was pretty good.
Yeah. Which again is he's got a few really good lines in there. I don't think he was given the best material.
Well, okay, so you want to know the biggest problem with the Ernest character is, in my opinion, is that I don't know who the hell he is. Like who is this guy? Like, you know what I mean? Like
he's Ernest P. Worrell.
I know, but like what I mean is like he doesn't have any type of backstory. Like he seems to like everyone says he's the dumbest man alive, yet he's constantly like referencing weird, obscure stuff. You know, and then at another point he like splits into like 4 personalities that actually exist. That part I was like, wait a minute. One of the personalities handed something to the other one, and I was like, hold on. I thought this was just a bit, but is this real? What's happening? So I think that's the biggest problem with the character is that they never like say like who, like, you know what I mean? Like if we're like, oh, he's a guy who just like, I think that's why Robin Williams and Jim Carrey always won people over is because they eventually injected some sort of I think the word's like pathos, you know, like sort of like an emotional connection at some point. So you kind of understood where these characters were coming from, and that's what's missing with the Ernest character, because I was like, is he like plugged into a radio all the time? Like, what's going on with him? Is he just like, who is Ernest? Where I want to know who Ernest is. I want to feel for Ernest, and I'm not feeling for him. You know?
Yeah, it doesn't have the balance of like.
Yeah.
It's got the manic side, and it doesn't have the non-manic side.
Yeah, we just need like a scene where he like, you know, we see him as a kid or something, or I don't know. Obviously
you see him
not.
as a
we
kid.
see him. We see him go into a church in the middle of the night, and he falls to his knees and screams because he's losing his religion, and then black goo drips down onto him, and then he goes and kills Spider-Man.
Don't.
That's a really great idea.
Yeah.
I
I think
thought
that should have been
so.
in this. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sure
Topher Grace
some of
is
the
Eddie Brock.
God.
The craziest casting ever heard.
Know what I mean, Spider-Man?
So stupid.
Oh, that would have been a much better movie, or at least more entertaining. No, I think probably the earlier movies might have done that, but I think part of the when it's straight to video quality kids movies, and there's quite a few of them.
Yeah.
The writers don't want to worry about trying to
Yes.
keep on track to what his mythos is.
So
I don't blame them at all.
So that's exactly like I wanted to talk about that as well, like the difference between like a kids movie and an all ages movie, and I feel like this is definitely a kids movie. And for me,
Yes.
the only thing that really makes a kids movie versus an all ages movie is kids movies always feel lazy. Like that is the biggest thing. Is like the storytelling always feels lazy. Like on all ages is like something that's like a kids movie, but with like adult storytelling tactics. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So like
Lion King,
Babe.
Yeah, like most Disney movies are like all
Predator
ages.
2.
Yeah.
Phil, we're having a very serious conversation about Ernest Scared Stupid, and you just keep making jokes.
I'm so sorry.
It's really bringing it down for me.
Have some respect.
Yeah. Jim Varney's dead.
Oh God, you're right. I'm sorry.
What were you saying about Babe?
Just like Babe, an all ages movie that works. It's not lazy.
Yeah. And so that's usually like when people are like, it's a Disney movie, it's for kids. You're like, no, you're confusing kids movie with all ages. All ages just means like they're just not gonna say you. Like, it's still gonna be good though.
To get stabbed.
Yeah. Well, people might get stabbed. People get stabbed in Disney movies.
That's true. You're right.
Some of the most violent scenes I've ever seen are in Disney movies. Remember when Clayton hangs himself?
I don't want to talk about Clayton.
Yep.
I knew you were going to bring it up. I don't like it. It gets me every time.
Wait, you mean not Clayton? Not Clayton?
No,
We have to get that as a t-shirt.
I know.
Yes.
Nobody knows what that is. Not even our fans know what the we're talking about.
Nope. No, not at all.
But yeah, no, this is squarely in the kids movie. Like, it feels lazy. Honestly, it's like, like there are two like goofy. There's just like a lot of goofiness and goofy characters, and in a normal movie, I'd be sitting there going like, why is he here? You know what I mean? Like, why is this person doing this? Why are they doing that? And I know what the showrunner, I know what's his name? Something Cherry.
John Cherry.
John Cherry would have said, it'd be like, it's for kids. It's going to make them laugh. And I'd be like, well, can't argue with that. You know?
I remember laughing at this movie.
Yeah. I thought Ernest was hilarious.
I don't know if I remember that. I think I remember being scared of this movie.
Yeah, this movie.
Liking it still.
This is definitely one of those movies where I'm like, I'm not going to show this to Jack. At least not for a while.
I was telling Will the point where the girl looks under her
18
bed
and up.
and then comes back up and turns in her bed and the troll's right there. That was probably one of my biggest like fears
It's like
as a
nightmare
kid.
fuel for you.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I was so terrified. But speaking of the trolls, that's another big point is the design of the trolls is like way better than this movie should have. And part of that is because they took the costumes from Killer Clowns from Outer Space and they just made them into the trolls because I think they were just laying around. So they're like, hey, well, let's just reuse these costumes.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah,
pretty
because
common.
were like, they look. Well, yeah, the Firefly. Who's the like government bad guys in that show? Doesn't really matter. The
2 by
armor that
2
they're
Hands
wearing,
of Blue? Are you talking about that?
Not those guys. The like regular soldier guys. The Alliance.
The Reavers? Oh,
the
the
Alliance.
Alliance. Yeah.
They're wearing the armor from Starship Troopers, just spray painted. Like
Really?
literally, it's from Starship Troopers. It was a budget thing, I think.
Yeah. No, those prop houses do that all the time. They take the stuff back. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's like, it was funny. I went to the Star Wars costume exhibit at the Detroit Institute of Arts.
Oh, I really wanted to go to that.
And it was cool to see all the stuff. It was a little disappointing because like 90% of it were costumes from Phantom Menace, like the prequel stuff, because all the original Star Wars costumes were just given back to the prop house and recycled for other things or just destroyed, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas like George Lucas, Captain Merchandising himself, like when he made his second trilogy. Okay. I was like, what's wrong with me?
What the was that?
A trequel tar.
Oh yeah, you're right. Sorry.
Yeah. It was a big part of all those movies. Anyways, trilogy. He knew to hang on to all that. You know what I mean? Because he's like, oh, the Detroit Institute of Arts is going to want this someday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they did.
Yeah. Anyways.
Anyways, the trolls looked really good.
Yeah,
I mean, so they looked good in that way that like a practical effect of a troll looks good. Where like I'm not going to be convinced that they got a real troll and filmed a real troll.
Yeah,
but it's like it fits a vibe.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
I think
like
also
it's not a photorealistic thing. It's just they had a great design to them.
Yeah,
and they looked spooky.
How much did you hate? How did you hate the troll's final form? When his little penis ears like became penis tentacles, I like couldn't look at the screen anymore.
Oh, you were in pain most of the movie every time the troll was on the screen. Snot dripping everywhere.
I have a big on my side of the family, I'm the only one who has kids with my brothers. On Caitlin's side of the family, we are the last ones to have kids.
Oh, God, I just pulled up a GIF of the final form. Anyways.
So we were the last ones to have kids. So, like, for years, like, the running joke with Caitlin's side of the family was like, oh, wait till Will has kids. Because I would be sitting next to my nieces and nephews and just, like, putting my hand up while we're, like, eating dinner. Like, trying to avert my eyes from watching this 4-year-old just do unspeakable things with a hot dog. You know what I mean? Because I just can't. And then, of course, now, like, Jack almost never, my son, has anything on his face because I can't handle it. Cannot. Why did you make me look that? Why did I look at that?
Yeah, I don't know why you clicked on it. You had to know what it was.
Yeah, he sent over the GIF of the monster.
We should probably post that.
Yeah, definitely, because it is gnarly.
I'm
going to look at it again.
Yeah, it's so gross and, like, cool. Like, it's different and weird. The weird penis tentacles coming out of the side of his face.
Yeah, if you showed me that image and said, this is a still from Ernest Scared Stupid, I would have been like, no, it isn't.
I will say the only criticism I have is that I feel like the eyes, you can kind of just see that it's a person.
I actually, I feel like I actually thought that was a good choice because can you imagine if they were just like dead, like,
oh no,
like not actually human eyes? I think it would have been I don't know. I think it would have made it seem less real.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Having the real eyes.
Not that, yeah. But yeah, no, this thing was nasty. I have a question, Craig, and I was going to do research on this, but then I didn't want to. Do you know any of like the history of the character Ernest P. Worrell? Like where he came from?
So he was a commercial. It was like the whole running joke was that he was like the annoying neighbor that would come over. And so that's who Vern is. Vern is supposed to be the never seen person that he's annoying. So that's why a lot of times Vern shows up in these movies. But it's only like for a split second. And I don't think he wasn't in this one at all. But
No,
he started out as commercial, and those were really popular. And so they started doing more and more, and eventually he got movies and his own Disney World special about
That's
Splash
so
Mountain.
Weird.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
80s
I'm on
were
the
a different time,
Wikipedia.
man.
There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 other family members that are named with at least a one-sentence biography.
Well, there's like one that's about his family. It's like,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I forget what
Ernest
it's
Scares
called.
his family.
Probably.
Hey,
I don't
Vern, it's my
remember what-
family album.
It was a local sort of thing. It wasn't like a national, but it was for local businesses or something like that. I forgot to do research myself, but that's what I do remember looking up at some point, that this was a small thing that turned into a very big thing.
Yeah, it's just kind of crazy, like how much they just like milked this one thing, and it worked.
Yeah, and I mean, John Cherry, that's all he did was the Ernest movies. He didn't direct anything else. That's all he had to do.
Yeah, I said like that sounds like such a like 90s thing for like some like it seems like a guy I would meet randomly when I'm like making a video for like an aluminum siding company, and the guy just was like, "What camera you got there? Blackmagic? Oh, okay. You know, I used to do some film stuff. Yeah, I filmed a bunch of movies back in the 90s. The Ernest films. Yeah. I wrote all those. Yeah." Like, oh, and you're just like doing aluminum siding now? Yep. Okay.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
What a dream that would be.
So my last, besides Eartha Kitt, because she's great, as we know, I don't think they gave her enough to do later in the movie. She's sort of just like walking around,
Yeah.
Literally.
acting
yeah.
lost.
Yeah. Well, she tried to get her family back, which was sort of like an attempt at a C plot, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
It just didn't really. Maybe a D plot.
The only like meme worthy thing in this whole movie is Miak.
Yeah.
So the one thing I do see people actually latch on to for this movie, and as a kid I thought it was the funniest thing ever, was that he misunderstands that it's instead of milk, he thinks it's Miak. And he finds some from Bulgaria at this time of year.
It is a Bulgarian style flavored yogurt sauce. What makes it a sauce?
Okay,
Don't
because I
wanna
looked it
know.
up earlier and it said it was not real.
It's not
Are you
real.
finding
Oh, it's not?
that it's real?
No.
What
Okay.
exactly is the authentic?
Because like,
I mean, if it was yogurt, it still had milk in it, so it would have worked. That's the funny.
yeah,
Okay, it does say it's not. Okay, the first thing is when you type it in, there is an answer that says that
Yeah.
when you do Google it. But yeah, you're right. It's not real. So like
Bummer.
somebody made that up. Weird.
yeah.
Also, his dog being named Rimshot is really funny. Anyway, do you guys have anything good to say, or do you guys just want to start?
I mean, I feel like I've peppered both good and bad throughout.
That's true.
Yeah,
Phil, what about you?
Listen, I went into this knowing this was not a movie any of us were gonna like walk away saying was our favorite movie, because it is a movie geared towards kids, but also like the nostalgia of it. So like, I'm not gonna fight this movie because that
Yeah,
feels
no
like
point.
I'm fighting a child.
Yeah, right.
Which isn't
A
good.
child
You're not
that
supposed
does
to do that.
a child that does brown face.
What,
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
What I will say, and we
movie
can
I
dig
never-
into it.
A movie I never want to see is Ernest Goes to Africa. I'm telling you that right now.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone should.
This,
There's no way that that's going to be good.
this movie is like peak 90s obliviousness. Even though it was like 91, it is just like what I would think of as like white people not realizing they can't say certain things.
A lot of weird Asian jokes in this one.
Yeah.
I felt like he like said like 3 or 4 like when he was like, I know Taekwondo, you know, and then he said like a bunch of food instead, you know.
And then he said, I've seen
Mushu pork.
Hulkamania 3 times, once in slow motion.
Yeah. This world.
However, what I will say, there were some lines that made me laugh pretty hard. I don't know if I'm laughing at them in the right way. I'm assuming I am. I'm assuming they knew I was going to laugh at them, not with them. There's one part where, like, forget what it is, but like does a bear in the woods? But instead of saying that, they say, do rattlesnakes kiss carefully?
Yeah.
Or something like that. And I was like,
Yeah.
That's good. That's like that made me chuckle. That was a pretty funny one that just, there were a lot of those that were kind of just like rapid fire and they move right into the next thing because it's a kids movie and they can't linger on anything. But I'm not going to say anything horrible about this. Was it a bad movie? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Was it a train wreck? Absolutely. Do I ever want to watch it again? Hell no. But also maybe.
I don't know if
there was something kind
honestly,
of likable.
I don't think it was. It wasn't. I wouldn't say it was a train wreck. I thought
train wrecks.
it was a rather competent movie. It had all the beats it needed. Like
that's fair. Yeah.
The characters felt. The problem is nothing felt like fully realized. None of the ideas felt. It felt just very shallow. You know, there's nothing to really like. Like there's no moral to this movie. I mean, I guess
drink your milk; it keeps you strong.
Well, there kind of was at the end because Ernest did save the day not by killing the main bad guy. Well,
I did like that.
He hugged him,
Spoiler
danced
town.
with him, and kissed him, and that saved him.
Okay, what I didn't like about that was that it killed the troll.
Well, then he exploded. Yeah.
Like
So
they were
like,
so close to having like,
it was like,
wow, what a unexpectedly like positive, aware ending to a movie with a villain for kids, where like they don't kill the bad guy or like send him to jail or whatever, and then he explodes. And I was like,
it was definitely
come on.
John Cherry was like, we gotta get Ernest to kiss this snot monster. How the hell do we do that? I got it.
That's the whole movie was written around Ernest kissing a snot monster.
That was one of the parts where I 100% closed my eyes.
Oh yeah, that was a very gross part.
The ending of this movie feels a lot different if when you see them all chanting "kill him," they're not talking about the troll, they're talking about
Ernest. They just want Ernest gone.
Everybody hates Ernest so much.
What I do like about this movie is it has this trope that I didn't realize I missed, was like in 90s kids movies, like everyone's an inventor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's like we were listening to a couple, it was like Pee Wee Herman, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Like it just felt like everyone's dad's job was an inventor. And like I remember as a kid thinking like, oh, I can grow up and be an inventor and my house will just be full of zany projects and it'll take like an hour and a half to cook toast and I might accidentally burn my house down. That's a job, right?
Yeah, you just put a camera in front of it and put it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, a Rube Goldberg YouTube channel. They're there.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, that's how you make it a living. I was like, what are you saying about?
Oh,
like...
yeah. No, that's how you make it a living. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Phil, if you had to give this movie a rating, what would it be?
Oh God. Okay, I have to go first. How do you rate a kids movie without sounding like an asshole?
Actually, can I go first? Because I have a rating system that I rejiggered my rating system, and I kind of want to hear how what you guys think of it. So I was thinking about it. I was like, how do you rate a kids movie? And I was like, okay, a 1 would be a movie that if Jack asked for, if he said I wanted to watch, I would say, oh no, YouTube doesn't work anymore. Sorry, buddy. Everyone's asleep. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A 2.5 right in the middle is a movie that is like, I don't care that he's watching it. You know, I'm not like mad at this piece of media. And then a 5 is a movie that I would sit down and watch with him. Because I either have nostalgia for it or I think it's competent enough to like make me happy. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes perfect sense.
And
I feel like that's a good one to implement. I'm going to go off of that one.
Okay. All right, you do your rating then.
Well, you can do yours because I still don't know what I'm going to give it.
Neither do I.
Oh, God. Okay. I'm going to give this... Okay, on that scale, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give this a 3.25... Little trolls in China don't even get milk. I didn't really like that part.
What you gonna give it 2.5?
3.25.
Oh, okay.
I feel like this is one where were I in charge of a child and they wanted to watch it, I would probably do the classic dad thing and stand and not pay attention, but also pay way too much attention.
Right. Yeah.
I feel like I would do that for this movie.
If
a child were watching it in my care.
That is exactly that's exactly the score I was gonna get a 3.5. So I was gonna give it 3.5. The doll talking really got Craig out of 5.
Yeah.
That's one of my notes. It was just like the doll talking really got Craig.
I felt like I was at a psychiatrist because as I was just laughing my ass off and he's just like writing things down furiously.
I kept every time Craig laughed, I was like, he liked that one.
Yep.
And this is a movie from your childhood. Yeah, it's full on. Will was your therapist in that?
Yeah.
Awful
Craig.
idea. Awful.
On that scale, and probably my regular scale, it's a 4 out of 5. Dog's named Splinter.
I don't remember Splinter. Oh yeah, right. Because it's
He's like, oh, turned into wood. I mean, you're gonna, the benefit is you'll float now.
Yeah.
But what am I gonna do? Call you Splinter?
That's right.
I did chuckle at that. That was a good one.
So I don't know if I'd show my kids this yet.
Right. Other than the scary
I think it would
bits.
freak them out.
Yeah.
Because honestly, Pete's at that age where when he was a bit younger, nothing seemed to faze him. Jonas is at that phase now where he's just like, whatever.
Yeah.
Not that I'm showing him like R-rated horror movies, but Pete gets freaked out.
Hey, Pete, you want to watch The Grudge?
There's actually a great episode of Bluey about that, where the dad takes Bluey and Bingo to a movie. Bingo, who's 4, Bluey gets freaked out by the movie at one point, and it's just like a normal kids movie, and Bingo doesn't care, because she's
So like Peter has discovered Slender Man and is afraid of that, and because someone on YouTube was talking about Slender Man. I think they showed it for a split second. Yeah. And but it's one of his regular people that he watches. It was one of his really old episodes. And so usually the guy's very family friendly.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was one of the scarier ones that he played like 8 years ago. And so now Pete's like, oh no, Slender Man. I'm like, Slender Man is the dumbest thing.
Yeah.
And I keep telling him, like, Pete, this is not real, not even close to real. This is a dumb internet meme that got out of hand. And he's just like, no, he's so scary. I'm like, okay.
They made a movie about it.
They made 2 movies about it.
Oh, they made 2?
2!
Oh,
there
God. I thought it was just the one, and I heard that it was just a really genuinely bad movie. Because, like, I guess the first too long, like 30 minutes of that movie is them sitting around a computer reading about Slender Man out loud to each other. It just sounds like such a bad movie.
No, can't do it.
Slenderman. You know what I laughed at really, really hard in this? When the kid yells to the troll, "Hey, butt breath." It got me.
Yep.
It was good.
Oh, man. I like the part where the bullies they are for some reason in the garbage.
Yeah. Which,
Because they put a baby, like a doll, in as the trap, as like the bait.
Yeah.
And they, for some reason, took it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the logic
bullies
doesn't
were
hold up
idiots.
at any point.
No.
At no point are you like, that tracks. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, the bullies are the mayor's kids.
Oh, yeah. Because rich kids suck.
Yeah. Okay.
But at least they're all white.
Hey-oh. Wow.
I feel like I've made too many white people jokes in this episode.
There's never enough.
Maybe
Yeah.
3 or 4 too many.
Movies with my best friend.
Hey everyone, Will here. We forgot to mention what movie we were watching next week. Through no one's fault, it was a collaborative effort that we all forgot to do. It's not because one member forgot that it was his turn to pick a movie and didn't have one at the time and panicked, and so we had to cut his weird panic thing and not include it at all. So that's not what happened. Incidentally, it is my week next week, so we're going to be watching the movie The Road to El Dorado, which is a movie I wanted to include, or that rather I wanted to watch after Craig did his underrated animated month. This is an underrated animated movie that I grew up loving, and so I want to watch it, and I don't know where you can stream it, so that's going to be something you got to figure out on your own. So anyways, so that's what we're going to be watching, The Road to El Dorado. So yeah, back to the whatever the it was we were talking about before this.
Movies with my best friend.
Thank you for liking and subscribing to the podcast. We're on Instagram and Facebook. Mostly sometimes Facebook. We didn't realize that we weren't posting there for a couple weeks there, so sorry about that.
It's crazy is that I
That
was
was a
the one who
purposeful
noticed.
ban.
You were the one.
We don't like
Isn't
Zuck.
Isn't that weird that I noticed? I go
It
on
is really
Facebook
weird.
once a year.
Thank God it was.
That was around this time.
recently. Yeah.
It's always for Halloween. Got to see the costumes. Or
Yeah,
Craig's
that's true.
trips to farms, really. That's
Yep,
what brings
that's
me
it.
in.
Okay, seriously though, do I do that too much? Am I
No,
posting
no.
too much
No.
pictures?
No.
Okay.
Who cares?
Okay.
No such thing. The
mean,
only
that-
reason why I don't post on Facebook is because my relatives will then call me. And I'm like, this wasn't an open invitation this isn't how you.
I sometimes
Stop.
feel like I am trapping people into watching old slides, like of my vacations. This is us
I
here at
Dude.
the Grand Canyon.
Dude,
did that last Christmas with my family. I made a whole PowerPoint.
I'm
Nice.
going to do it. Like, I'm going to be the guy who makes everyone sit down and do a slideshow. Like, I want to do that. I want to be that guy
Yeah.
who's like, this is when we went on a trip to this, and just
It's
shows
fun.
people stuff. Yeah.
Listen, I
It's fun.
unapologetically like being on either side of that. I like being in the audience for that.
Yeah.
Man, I'm not like following most people on Facebook because either they're have really garbage opinions or they don't do anything interesting. Like they'll post like inspirational quotes or
Oh,
memes
yeah.
with the minions in it. I'm like, how
Oh,
old are
Minions,
you?
Minions. The best.
Yeah.
So this
So-
episode was brought to you by Caitlin Chodas, who's my wife. Yay! Thanks, Caitlin.
Yay!
If you're interested in hearing your name shouted out on the podcast and want to help support us, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/mumbleandshrug.
If you like what you heard, consider leaving a review at Apple. I don't have it up in front of me. I thought I could do it. I'm so sorry.
On Apple Podcasts.
How dare you?
If you like what you heard, consider leaving a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Google Play. That's all for this episode. I'm Phil Kessel.
I'm Will Chodas.
And I'm Craig Norland.
Think of a number between 1 and 10. Was it
Done.
2?
No.
That's a visual gag. That's not going to work. He pokes their eyes.
Oh,
I
he pokes
remember
him in the
that
eye.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Just remember, listeners, you are the great redneck hope.
Yes. Great redneck hope.
This movie
Hey,
was
man,
this movie was trash. Don't watch it. It's awful.
No.
It's garbage. Craig's wrong. Craig's
no,
holding us hostage. He's
there's
making
some
us do
good
this. It's a
lines in
horrible
there.
movie. Run away. Run.
Movies with My Best Friend Phil is brought to you by Mumble and Shrug Productions, the creators of very serious video production for very serious clients. This episode was recorded and edited by Will Chodas. Research provided by Phil Kessel and Craig Norland. Cover art was designed by Will Chodas and Phil Kessel provided likeness. For more content like this, visit mumbleandshrug.com.
The legend of a lost city of gold. And the two men brave enough to find it.
I am Miguel.
And I am Tulio.
And they call us Miguel and Tulio.
7! Your dice are loaded! I will give you the honor of a quick and painless death. But not with that. I'll bet we can make that. 2 pesetas says we can't.
You're on! You lose.
DreamWorks Pictures invites you
Holy shit! Oh
to join 2 friends on an incredible journey
We'll follow that trail. What trail?
to the magnificent City of Gold.
El Dorado.
Big smile.
Like you mean it. They actually think we're gods.
Miguel and Tulio.
The mighty and powerful gods.
Hello.
Now,
Going to need my help.
What makes you think we need your help?
Are you serious?
they're bound for excitement,
Who's the guy?
You the guy.
romance, and danger.
I know you are not gods.
You're not a god? That was good, huh?
Featuring 6 new songs from Elton John and Tim Rice, the Oscar-winning team from The Lion King. The Road to El Dorado.
Stop that!
Brought to you by Mumble and Shrug Productions.